Guten Tag, mein Pfeifenfreunds. Alles klar mit Ihnen? Sehr gut. Ich rauche mein Vauen Tonpfeife. No, not Tonpfeife. Tobakpfeife. Mit einiger... Einen Moment. Frog Morton Cellar. Yeah, Frog Morton Cellar. Very, very, very tasty pipe tobacco. Okay, well, again, greetings to all of you. Old Ahoy Smoking Pipe Padre coming back at you tonight. And it's my first night of vacation. A little bit of time off. And, boy, this is good. And I just wanted to kind of just touch bases with some of y'all. I'm going to reduce this here. I have some shout outs I want to give. And so I'm enjoying a nice pipe this evening. Let me get my lenses back on here. There we go. Now I can see my little comments. I had a few nice comments that I just wanted to respond to. And just to give you a look at this pipe here. Some of you wanted to see more of this Vauen. We're going to talk a little bit more about this particular pipe here in just a little bit. Okay. I got a couple of comments I wanted to respond to. First one is from VinMan360. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here tonight, smoking this particular pipe. Okay. Let's see. He asks, was it Vinman here? Hold on just a second. No, here we go. New hobby. Okay. He wants to know, VinMan360 wants to know, what is a reasonable price range around $70 to $150 for a good pipe? And what I would possibly recommend. And he has found a Peterson Donegal 09. He likes that pipe, and I'm sure it's a Churchwarden. This also is a Churchwarden. So my friend, I would say if that's what you're interested in, go for it. Petersons do make a pretty good entry-level pipe, which you can get around $7. You kind of priced it just about right there, $70 to $150. And this Vauen, I believe, was a little over $228. And I bought this pipe about 2 years ago. I think I bought this. This is like my first, if you go back, my first box opening, I believe, I did with my Vauen pipe. So, but we're going to talk more about that in a minute. So, again, where I buy my pipes, this will help. I have another question from this Captain Nemo. He asked some questions about this pipe in particular. And so we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I buy most of my pipes. So far, I have bought most of my pipes, especially my Dunhills. I order them through the Briar Patch in Loman Center and also in Arden Ferry Mall in Sacramento, California. All right. The next person, Kakis G. Poros. I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly, but I think I am. Kakis G. Poros. And he makes a very interesting point on one of my recent videos. He says about the Habemos Papam, Habemos Dunhill. We have a Pope, we have a Dunhill. And he says, chances are when a person, we say Pope Francis, and he makes the point that right now, technically we just say Pope Francis because, he's the first. He clearly is the first. But if ever in the history of the church there was to be another Pope Francis the second, then he would then take on the one would actually be then inserted by his name. But considering he is truly the very first Pope to take that name, interestingly enough, all the popes up until this Pope have always taken the name of the apostles, one of the names of the apostles. So interesting, very interesting. But he says, I don't think that's going to happen in our lifetime. And you know what? You are absolutely right, Mr. K. All right. Okay, let's move on here to Captain Nemo. Captain Nemo, God bless you. You talk about this particular pipe here. This is a Vauen pipe, okay? And you know what? Believe it or not, as much as I love my Dunhills, and I didn't know this until I finally started getting into it, after watching a lot of great videos by Dunhill Moments, formerly Dunhill Man UK, and a lot of other people, Astroman, 2112, and James out there in Thailand, also a big Dunhill guy, you know, and some other people who introduced me to the Dunhill line, but I did not know until that little legacy white dot is also a Vauen. Vauen makes the little legacy white dots here too. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this particular Vauen pipe because I really find this a very interesting pipe, even though and Mr. Joe Case, I want to say to you, if you're watching, Joe, love my wood tamper as well. This is from Herminator, and I just love this tamper, and it's a wonderful tamper. Excellent. But this Vauen pipe is very unique, I think. And when I bought this, I saw it. I think Captain Nemo loves the shape of this pipe. He wants to know where I bought it. Again, I bought this at the Loman's Briar Patch. Or actually, I bought this at the Briar Patch in Arden Fair Mall. Now, I don't know where you live, Mr. Captain, but hold on a second. I get a sip of coffee here. And the reason why I'm dressed in this kind of shirt here, most people just see me in my usually black clerical shirt, is I'm on vacation in Lake Winnipesaukee. What about me and what about Bob? But the thing I like about the Vauen pipe, this pipe system, comes in a nice box. And let me just show you something. This is awesome. You get a case. They even throw in some pipe cleaners. Of course, I haven't used those. And they also throw in some filters. And believe it or not, I'm using one of the filters for the very first time tonight. I have never really, except for when I was back in the Marine Corps, back in the early Devonian period, and I was new to pipe smoking, completely new. And you know, when I grew up in the 60s and 70s, actually I was born in the 50s, but you know, when I grew up in my formative years, filters were a big thing when it came to cigarettes and smoking. So if you had a filter on something, it was supposed to be a safer alternative. Well, pipes got into that too. I think the Dr. Grabo pipes and the Medico pipes, they all had filters, these little paper filters. And sometimes they even have, I think I've seen, in fact, Old Pipe Pops did a video on filters once. And I think one of them was like a wood, just a little wood dowel that would absorb nicotine or tars or whatever. So interesting. So tonight I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to try that. Now, here's the thing that I think is also unique to this Vauen pipe system, and that is this. Because, let's say, you like your pipe, and although a nice Churchwarden, you can't beat a Churchwarden on a nice evening when you can sit back and relax in your favorite armchair with your favorite beverage at your elbow. But supposing you really like this pipe, it's a real champion smoker. And by the way, these Vauens are wonderful smokers, I will tell you that. But let's say you want to be able to go somewhere, but taking a Churchwarden may not be the most practical thing. So, well, this is hot now, and I don't want to crack the stem or the shank. But you can substitute this pipe stem for the Churchwarden pipe stem. Okay? Pretty neat, pretty cool. Okay? So now this becomes more of a pocket pipe or a travel pipe, whereas, of course, you can take a Churchwarden with you. I don't see why you can't. But again, maybe some people might find this a little bit too delicate to travel. But now you can take this stem, replace it with this nice acrylic stem, and Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. Okay. So, I sure hope that helps answer some questions. Let me see if I have a few more little questions I thought I'd go through and answer here real quickly. Stu H. S-T-U-H period. Hi, Stu. How are you? Somebody coming in from the, commenting from the UK. And Stu tells me that happiness can be found in a big bowl of St. Bruno. Mm-hmm. And, excuse me. And would like to maybe possibly set up a trade. And that would be nice. Actually, although I like St. Bruno, and I think I have one more package that Bruno, the one and only Bruno, sent to me. Bruno, if you're watching, good to see you. Hope all is well there and with you in Portugal. Todo bem? Anyway, so, but the one I really truly loved, much more than the St. Bruno, although St. Bruno wasn't bad, was the Holland House, but I don't know if you can get that either. Trying to still find that here in the US of A. Holland House, lovely black Cavendish. Okay, and then I had something from Pipe Revival. Haven't seen him around in a while. And he seemed to amen my little shout out, or my little talk about forgiveness there, when I talked about YouTube shutting down. Obviously, YouTube did not shut down. So we're back again. So all your favorites are out here, you know. So here we are. Okay. I wanted to say, maybe make some comments, if I may. As many of you know, I am a big Downton Abbey fan. It's a wonderful television series. By the way, if those of you are wondering, you know, how I'm finding the filter on my Vauen pipe, I can sense just a little resistance more than just the normal pipe system or the pipe stem, which is usually this little spigot right here. That just goes into the, you know, so I think it's okay. I'm not having a real difficulty with it. Again, that would be just to say that it's the good craftsmanship of the Vauen pipe system. Oh, and by the way, Captain Nemo, because he seemed to really like this style, this shape, because lo and behold, that famous Broadway musical team, it reminds you of the Hobbit pipes. And guess what? Guess who officially makes the Hobbit pipes? It's the Vauen people. So they actually make a Gandalf pipe, they make a Bilbo Baggins pipe, they make a Lord of the Rings series of pipes, I believe. So if that's what you're really looking for, there's even better news for you. So I would get online and check out Vauen pipes, and you can probably, you know what, I'll bet you can order online. And let me tell you something, I have started doing more ordering online of things, because even though you can't go to a brick and mortar store right this moment like you normally used to and say, okay, I need this and thus and such, and you run down to your local whatever store it is and you buy it, which is great, and I still love doing that. But I'm finding that some of the things that I buy, for example, some of you saw my my Edwardian dress, not dress as in a female dress, but as in clothes, and the boiled shirt, the traditional bib shirt. You got to have liquid starch to really starch that puppy to make it really get that cardboard texture. because spray starch is not going to do it. Again, being in the Marine Corps, you learned how to starch your uniforms. Well, this is back when I was in. Now, I guess in the new Corps they don't do that, but especially in the old Corps, you used to starch your cover, your hat, and those things would be like cardboard, which is exactly the same consistency as the front part of a evening shirt. But you can only do that with liquid starch. Well, now I find out that you can't really buy it in stores, but you can order it online. And that is the way it is with lots of things that I like. And so instead of trying to run all over town, trying to find it in some obscure little mom and pop shop, I just order online now. So let that be a lesson to you all. Okay. But anyway, so I like the Downton Abbey series, as most of you know. But I also happen to be a real big Madman fan. Yeah, Madman. And last night was the season opener of Mad Men, season 6. Now again, because I'm becoming much more of an online person, even though I consider myself, interestingly enough, to be much more of a traditional person, it's just the things that I like I can only get seems to get them online. So I have to wait until iTunes a couple hours later it becomes released to them, and then I download it and I'm able to watch the series, which is fine, you know. But anyway, I did something kind of, even though I was on vacation, started last night really. When I finally got the notice that the Mad Men episode was available for download, it was like 12:30 midnight, and so I was tired, and even though I knew the next day I could sleep in, and I did, I decided to watch it. It was a 2-hour special. So those of you who are Mad Men fans, maybe we can compare notes. But again, I think maybe and I'm going to watch it again here in just a little bit. I'm going to kind of relax, reload my Vauen here, or another pipe perhaps, and just enjoy watching it again. I really like the series. Again, I like good drama series. And the thing I think I like about, and they're very similar, the Downton Abbey and of course Mad Men, are the fact that they're historical timepieces. They're not contemporary, although to some extent, you know, you're looking at a certain segment of history. But the thing that I think the writers have been able to capture in both these series that makes them very appealing for me is, for the most part, their attention to the details, the accuracy of certain things. Now, with Downton Abbey, of course, most of us were not alive in that time period, obviously. Many of us, maybe some of our grandparents might have been, you know, in their knickers during that time period, but for the most part, that was, you know, just a little bit beyond our time range, and so we didn't obviously live in that era. But, you know, it's still close enough in history to where it's still, you know, current, modern, if you will, early modern period. So, you know, the attention to detail that they're able to weave into that series is wonderful. You know, just it's those little details that really help you to say, "Whoa, that's somebody's done their homework." Well, same is true with Mad Men, and there's a lot of you out there my age, and I tell you, I've been watching that series, and each time I watch a different episode, I always am impressed, because there's some little thing there that I don't know what it is at first, but I'm kind of like captivated by it. I just, for some reason, I find myself watching that scene, listening to it, whatever it is, and I go, why am I so kind of focused on this scene? Here's one scene. This is an insignificant scene, but when I stopped and analyzed it, it was very significant for me, because when I was growing up, that was exactly what I experienced when I was growing up as a kid. There's a scene where this little girl, Sally, is sitting with this Aunt Pauline, I guess her name is. And she's sitting there at the kitchen table, and she's making the kid eat the sandwich, and she's reading the newspaper, she's drinking a cup of coffee, and she's smoking a cigarette. And I remember seeing that for the first time, and it was interesting because the kid's eating a sandwich, and in the center of the little kitchen table is a little ashtray with a cigarette, and the smoke is corkscrewing up. Snowball, be quiet. I just fed you. Stop it. He's such a loudmouth. I just fed you. I fed you. No. 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 Anyway, but I saw that, and a lot of you will probably say, yeah, because nowadays, God forbid, people are smoking around kids, and especially when I was growing up, my mom, her ritual would be to get a cup of coffee and her cigarettes, and maybe watch the TV or turn on the radio, make the coffee, But I just remember seeing that, and it just brought back so many memories, because that's the way my childhood was, that seeing that the cigarette just quietly, burning and the smoke rising from the kitchen table. Just that was part of life, and the coffee, of course. So I just thought that was fascinating, And then I did a little bit of a marathon yesterday in anticipation of season 6 coming out. And one of the ones I saw was when President Kennedy was assassinated. Now, I actually was alive, and I remember that actually happening, as many of you do too. I know exactly where I was. I was in 2nd grade at Lincoln Way Elementary School. Mrs. Smith was my 2nd grade teacher. I'll never forget. We got the word the president had been assassinated, and the school was going to be canceled, and everybody was going home right now, right now. Going home, my mom's in tears, watching, Walter Cronkite and Chet Huntley and David Brinkley and all those guys, Howard K. Smith and all those. I remember all those commentators and news broadcasters. Grew up with them. But the way they did that, talk about transporting you back to something that really truly happened, and not only historically happened, but in my life. That was a part of my life. And I just remember that. And they captured that so exquisitely. They did a tremendous job with all those little details. I don't know how they did that, but obviously, that's the skill of a good screenwriter, and people who are able to really take that and put it on the small screen, TV, but to be so convincing. It was almost like reliving. Well, it was like reliving that whole experience from history. So the show was an excellent show. Now, that being said, some people might say, but look at all of the immorality that is portrayed on the show, and there's a lot of truth to that. From a basic Christian perspective, Don Draper is not probably he's not really probably a candidate for sainthood. Let's just give him that, okay? But then again, that is a very complex character, and I think what I enjoy watching about this person is that he's two people in one. He's Dick Whitman and he's Donald Draper, and but sometimes when those two personalities collide, makes for very fascinating a very fascinating study in morality and character and character. Not character as in screen character and persona, but integrity of character, I guess, of a person's character. And anyway, I would like to spend more time just talking about that, because to me that's a very fascinating. The screenwriter, this guy who writes the scripts for Mad Men, just fascinating. He sets up a lot of very fascinating scenarios, and even though I watched it when I was tired, and that's probably part of it, I was kind of like, I was watching, I was half falling asleep and waking up, and I probably need to just sit and really be able to watch it, while I'm really awake and not kind of dozing off. But I think the first 2-hour season premiere usually it's setting the stage for the future of the rest of the series. This is supposedly the penultimate series, so there will be one more series, and probably to finalize it, and we'll see what happens next year, I guess. But this year should be interesting to see, how the characters develop. Some of the characters are, well, I think all the characters, with maybe a few exceptions, are very fascinating. I know some people, I've been reading online, some people really detest the Megan character and just kind of hope that she goes away. Also, Betty has become this really bizarre person. She went from Fat Betty to What the F Betty. People were commenting on, where did this character go? Oh, man, this is a strange character. But anyway, I just think it's a fascinating study in morality. I mean, you might say, well, how can you say that? Because they're mostly immoral characters. Well, I think all people have that duality within them, where they struggle between doing what's right and doing what's wrong, being selfless and being selfish. And so sometimes I think it's a good mirror for the rest of us, to say, ask ourselves, well, what would I do in that situation? What would I compromise? If I thought I was going to get something for it, would I say, okay, I can get, a lot of money by doing this thing that I know is wrong, whether it's embezzling money or like the Joan character prostituting herself for a portion of the company share. Would a person, would they weigh those alternatives? Would they say, well, gosh, it's a one-night thing, would I do that? Would I risk possibly doing something illegal, to help my family? I mean, and some characters are just plain old selfish characters, and they're just in it for themselves. But some of the moral dilemmas that the characters find themselves in are kind of complex. They're not just, somebody just doing something to be doing something wrong. Usually there's quite a bit of thought that goes into their actions. I'll go, well, if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble, but if I don't do this, I'll get in more trouble. Like Lane, the guy from England, he was trying to basically get himself out of hock. I guess he had liquidated some of his personal assets to start up the new company, and yet when he, I guess had that currency exchanged from English pounds to American dollars, there was a tax that he had to pay on that, and it kind of hit him in the rear end, and he wasn't ready for it. And so he thought, well, okay, if we get a Christmas bonus, which I'm entitled to, which we're all entitled to, then I can, then I obviously will be able to pay this. And so anyway, but he tried to finagle this way to basically, get himself a short-term loan, but it backfired on him. And there were no Christmas bonuses, and now he's out $8,000, and what does he do? Well, he's in trouble, so he decides to end it all. And also there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek in this whole thing. And so you have to kind of really listen and watch, and kind of, sometimes there are little clues along the way, and you kind of, things that usually strike you as kind of odd. You go, why did the characters say it like that? Or why did they, shoot it this way? Why, and some of the scenes are absolutely beautiful. Some of the scenes that are just absolutely poetic are when they'll show the character sitting or or maybe they're asleep, and they'll go through like a night-day period where the sun will set and the darkness will come and then the light will come back up again, but all in one frame. And I always find that very artistic. I was like, wow, that's really good, because it's very, that time lapse, just by using lights to do that with. The character just sits there, but it looks like they've gone to sleep and, and had woken up the next day. But it's actually, some of those are very quite beautifully done. So anyway, that's my little comments on Mad Men season 6, the opening premiere. So if you would like to share some of your thoughts about the Mad Men, were you disappointed? Were you kind of thinking that things were going to be different with Dawn? I mean, are we really surprised at the end? I don't want to give any spoilers, but most people who know the program probably knows what's going to happen, so I won't quite go there. But were you surprised with Dawn? So anyway, good old Donald Draper. Okay. So, and also last thing, which character would you identify with the most? Would you be a Roger Sterling kind of a guy, suave and debonair? Would you be a Donald Draper, kind of the cold, steely, matter of fact, laconic kind of guy? Yep, nope. That kind of a guy. Would you be kind of a lovable old Bert Cooper? I guess I'm kind of a Bert Cooper kind of a guy. I need the little goatee there, Would you be the conniving Peter Campbell? Talk about your basic sleaze bag. I'm sorry, I think he wins that award, although he's got some charm to him. Or would you be the indomitable, dependable Peggy? What a great gal she is. Of course, there's the Joan, and well, let's say the gal's definitely has a lot of assets. That's all I can say. I think I was being nice about that. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say tonight. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Light up your world. Hey, light up your pipe. Take care. Bye-bye. See you next time.